The newest update for Mortal Kombat 1 reveals some key information about Story Mode Part 3, from attempted coups to forced betrayals and other major plot points of that nature. And for anybody new to this channel, yes, Story Mode Part 3 is basically confirmed. However, I'm just curious if the developers added this new information to the game on purpose to tease us about future events to come, or if the entire thing is one big mistake, because that does tend to happen a lot with Mortal Kombat 1. But no matter what the case may be, this new story sounds very interesting. So today, let's talk about it, because another day means more Mortal Kombat 1 news. I'm covering it all the time on this channel, so if you want to stay up to date, then make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss any future videos. And then after watching, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. It helps the channel out a ton. And without any further ado, let's begin, starting off with Katana. Because after Noob Saibot got added to the game, players were quick to discover that many of his new intro dialogues foreshadow the events of Story Mode Part 3. For example, just check out this dialogue between him and Kitana. Your new power rivals your sister's.
Your new power rivals your sister's.
Which makes it good she and I aren't ones.
But what new power is Noob Saibot referring to? As of right now, we don't have the details, but this intro does imply that Kitana will play a big role in Story Mode Part 3, very similar to how Tanya played a big role in the Chaos Reigns expansion. Although in Kitana's case, it's going to be the main timeline and not some spin-off version of her character. And I think the decision for Kitana to be a main character in Part 3 of Story Mode is a very smart decision by NetherRealm, because tons of players have stated they want Kitana to play a more important role in the story. Ever since this new game came out, Kitana's been pretty much in the background. And that's mainly because Mileena is now the Empress of Outworld, which means Kitana is second to her, very similar to how Jade was always second fiddle to Kitana in the previous Mortal Kombat games. And as a big Mileena fan myself, I don't have a huge issue with this, but tons of players do, because until recently, Kitana was the leading lady of the Mortal Kombat series. Liu Kang was the main male character, and Kitana was very often the main female character. Even in Mortal Kombat 11, she played a major role in the story. So the fact she takes a back seat in Mortal Kombat 1 has many players disappointed. So now in Part 3, it looks like Kitana is going to shine and play a major role in the upcoming story. But next up, let's talk about this new power. What is Noob Saibot referring to when he says Kitana's new power rivals her sister's? At first, many players, myself included, thought that Bihan was referring to a power-up of sorts that Kitana got. In other words, she has a brand new ability that makes her on the same level as her sister. Because don't forget, during the tournament, it is stated that Mileena is a better fighter and more powerful than Kitana is. But this new intro dialogue seems to imply that now they're on even footing, so it could be possible that Kitana got a power-up and now she's as powerful as her sister. However, that's just one theory. Recently, many players have pointed out this intro could be referring to how Kitana now leads the military for Outworld.
If it isn't the accidental soldier.
You'll address me as Supreme Commander.
That's right, for anybody who did not watch all the arcade ladder endings, Kitana is in charge of the military and even defeats the army of General Shao. So she's a natural born military leader and all of these soldiers are at her command. So because Kitana commands this entire military force, maybe that's what Noob Saibot is referring to. She's in charge to all these soldiers, which means her power now rivals her sister Mileena's. And that's an interesting perspective. However, I have my doubts about this theory because Mileena is still in charge of Kitana because she's the Empress. So yeah, Kitana leads the military, but Mileena is still in charge of Kitana and therefore she technically leads the military too. So as a result, my fingers are crossed that this new intro refers to an actual power-up that Kitana gets, literally, and not just her rank and the fact that she commands a military. I'm hoping that Kitana gets an actual buff to her abilities in a future story mode. Alright, but now it's time for intro number 2, this time between Noob Saibot and Shang Tsung. Because guess what? It turns out that Shang Tsung tried to capture Sektor.
It is time you answer for Sektor.
For what exactly? She escaped me unharmed.
That's right, and this gets brought up in 2 different intro dialogues, and as a result, I do think this is canon. It's not a what-if scenario, and it's not a separate timeline either. This happens canonically in the main timeline. So it definitely is going to happen in Story Mode Part 3. Because now that I think about it, are there any intro dialogues in Mortal Kombat 1 that aren't canon? Unless they specifically state it's a different timeline, which sometimes they do. But outside of those rare situations, I can't think of any intro dialogues in Mortal Kombat 1 that are not canon. So once again, because Sektor's capture gets brought up 3 different times in this intro dialogue, I'm willing to bet that it's canon and also is going to happen in Story Mode Part 3. At some point in this new Story Mode expansion, Sektor will be captured by Shang Tsung and possibly Quan Chi as well, however, she eventually does escape. Now, I don't think this capture will be a major part of the story in the upcoming expansion, but perhaps this experience could inspire Sektor to create the Cyber Lin Kuei, instead of just making Iron Man suits like she has been so far. Maybe after getting captured by Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, Sektor realizes that the robot suits are not enough, and the Lin Kuei does need to evolve and get stronger somehow, and then boom, the Cyber Initiative idea was inspired. Which is just my theory, but I think it would make sense if Sektor getting captured leads her to realize that she's not strong enough and needs to go one step further beyond and just become a full-on cyborg. But okay, next up, let's talk about this intro between Noob Saibot and Quan Chi. You tried enlisting Sektor against me.
You tried enlisting Sektor against me.
Not against you, to help you see reason.
Once again, more interesting stuff. This intro dialogue could be referencing Sektor's arcade ending, when she does work with Quan Chi temporarily in order to free Noob Saibot and then in return give Quan Chi Shinnok's amulet. That's right, even though we never see Shinnok in this new timeline, his amulet definitely is a real thing, and in fact I think some characters do mention Shinnok directly in this game, but it's rare. However, Sektor does not actually uphold her end of the bargain. She does not retrieve the amulet and give it to Quan Chi. Instead, after freeing Bi-Han, she immediately leaves and forgets the rest of her mission because that's her man. And as a result, I think that's why Quan Chi and Shang Tsung capture Sektor, because she betrayed them and did not uphold her end of the bargain. Once again, that's just my theory for now, but because Quan Chi and Shang Tsung are already buddies in this new timeline, and we already know that Shang Tsung captured Sektor, I think it's possible that while captured, Quan Chi tried using his sorcery and magic to turn her against Bi-Han, otherwise known as Noob Saibot. Because Sektor would be perfect for that. Nobody else is able to get that close to Noob Saibot. He does not trust anybody as much as Sektor. So if Quan Chi could use his magic to mind control Sektor and get close enough to stab Noob Saibot in the back, that would be a really successful plan. But as we already know, Sektor does manage to escape before this mind control is successful and she reunites with Noob Saibot. But next up, let's talk about Onaga. Oh, that's right, I bet that got your attention. Yeah, I think Onaga definitely could play a role in Story Mode Part 3, which was not what I thought originally. Until recently, I believed that Onaga was going to be saved for the sequel, and that's because he's everyone's favorite villain. So if you want a main boss for the sequel to Mortal Kombat 1, then there's nobody better than Onaga. However, recently I have my doubts about this, only because Mortal Kombat 1 has such mixed reception. I love the game, and I know many of you watching love the game too, but the fact remains this game has been very divisive, and to this day, over 1 year later, there are hate videos being made about Mortal Kombat 1 every day. In fact, there's entire YouTube channels that do nothing but roast Mortal Kombat 1 on a weekly basis. And as a result, I think it is possible that NetherRealm is going to drop this new timeline for the sequel and instead go back to the original timeline. And if I'm right about that, then it means NetherRealm is going to shove all their new ideas into this game, including Onaga in the new timeline. And this actually does get teased in the arcade ladder endings and also the intro dialogues as well. We already know that General Shao and Reiko had a secret plan to free Onaga and take control of him to win the war and overthrow Outworld. But that's just the arcade ladder endings. If we listen to some of the intro dialogues, it's stated by Reiko that he did actually succeed in defeating Onaga. Which sounds impossible, I know, but keep in mind that Onaga was mostly chained down during this fight, so not exactly fair, and under those circumstances, I do think Reiko could win. But here comes the funny part. Apparently, Onaga managed to escape before they could take control of his power and make him fight for them. So yeah, Onaga is just free and running around now. That's canon in Mortal Kombat 1, which means Onaga could play a big role in Story Mode Part 3. And if that does happen, I'm gonna be excited, because I do want Onaga to return and play a big role in the story for a modern Mortal Kombat game. Because even though he was really cool in Deception, let's be real, those games were really limited. Now in the modern era, video games can do pretty much anything, so I want to see what Onaga is like in Mortal Kombat 1. I want to see one of the fan favorite bosses in Mortal Kombat play a major role in an upcoming story. I want him fully realized in a modern Mortal Kombat game. But as you all know, I love making these videos interactive, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you want to see most in Story Mode Part 3? And also, do you want Onaga to show up in this game, or should he be saved for the sequel since he's such a cool boss? Would it be better for him to have the entire spotlight in the sequel, or for him to be the final villain of Mortal Kombat 1? Like I say in all my videos, I truly do love reading each and every comment, so grab that keyboard and make those voices heard. Another day means more Mortal Kombat 1 news. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below, it helps the channel out a ton. And then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.